Happy December 30th. I apologize for the fact that I seem to be failing at this extended Vlogmas. I had everything ready to go. I had my list made out for what I wanted to talk about. I had everything gathered up and ready on Friday to talk about my next my counterpart to my Make 9, and then the furnace people were here almost the entire day, and so every time that I thought that I could podcast, they were either banging or walking through constantly, and so I just was unable to do that. So I'm going to share that with you today. And then yesterday we had Christmas with my family here, and after that was over, I was completely unable to Vlogmas, and so we are just gonna move right on, and hopefully I don't have fighting kids in the background the whole time. So in the spirit of Make 9, I decided that I also wanted to have something about projects that I have started in this year or even before that are a priority for me to finish. That looks like a silly string on the outside, but it's not. Excuse me. The first thing on my Finish 9 in 2019 is my Solace Camo. I actually have no idea how to say the name of it. It is a pattern by Jody Uckner, and I started it on January 27th of 2016. It was originally intended to be for Isaac, but I think he has since kind of outgrown it, and so it would be for Violet. It's a crocheted cabled blanket, and it's something that I want to commit to finishing in 2019. Things that didn't make it onto this list, which truthfully there aren't that many because I did finish quite a bit over the summer during Stash Dash, but things that are not on the list, I am committing to either frogging them or finishing them, either one, but these are the ones that I know that I want to actually finish and have a finished object. So the next thing I have is my Dream Bird, which is a pattern by Nadita Swings, and I started it January 18th of 2016. And so here it is. I have 9 feathers on it, and I think need to go to like 15. I did work on this a little bit during Stash Dash and then decided at the end when I was trying to make my goal that it wasn't something that I could really finish in that timeline, and so I put it away again. But I did find it a lot easier to work on than when I had first started it. It is kind of fun to come back to these projects that are so old, because I found this pretty difficult when I was working on it in the beginning when I first started it. And it shows me that my knitting has progressed quite a bit since January of 16 or December of 16, because I found it so much easier. But it's just something that I haven't super worked on. There's a lot of short rows to make the feathers, and that is something that I struggle with a little bit with the kids, because I feel like if I set it down, I might forget which way I'm going because it's not as obvious when you're doing the short rows. So that's something that I need to work on. Then my third oldest project sorry, Violet is playing with the train and stuff next to me. The third oldest object that I need to work on, that I do want to finish, and I don't want to finish these because I'm enjoying them or really because I want the project. They are my socks for Mike, which I started last April, and I truthfully don't super enjoy working on these. These are the only thing that I kind of struggled with putting into my Finish 9. I would really like for Mike to have a pair of socks, and so that's why I'm committing to finishing them. It's not necessarily that I care too much about doing them, but he does have a size 15 foot and it's slow going. I'm not even to the heel. I don't even know that I'm very close to the heel. So there is that one. And of course there's not a finished picture for those because they are just a sock, an enormous sock. My next thing was actually my birthday cast on this year, so May 3rd of 18. It is a pattern by Susie White, and it's in Suburban Stitcher yarn. And it doesn't look like much right now, quite honestly, because it's on a little cord and I haven't got very far past the top. The original is done in one color and I decided to do mine in two. And so this one, I finished up with that, and all of the lace is in this gray. But again, as I just said, this is lace, so it's something I don't feel super confident working on when the kids are running around and I need to be responsible for them. Can you take? Okay, so after that comes another arrow shawl. This is the Bendy Arrow by Charlotte Borey, and I started it around July 4th. I am doing this, if you remember last March, I taught my friend how to knit, my friend Ashley, when we went on a weekend together for a pastor's wife conference. And she was looking, she wanted to make a shawl, and this was one that I already had yarn for. I felt like it was a good beginnerish pattern, but that there were lots of new techniques in it that she had obviously not done. And so I felt like it was something that she could do, and any tricky parts I could help her with through FaceTime. So currently it is also on a short thing, and I also stole the needles off of it. But I am ready for the short rows, and I have been waiting on the short rows to continue until she was ready for them, because that's how we were doing it. I would kind of knit through until there was a new technique, wait for her to do the technique and figure that out, and then I would knit to the next place where she might need help, so that I could be in a place that I could show her on FaceTime what to do, and that would maybe be more helpful than trying to explain it, because sometimes I find it really hard to explain what you're doing, especially a German short row. It is a magical thing, but it is so hard to explain it and wrap your head around it when you've never done a short row before. But anyways, this is on my Finish 9 for 2019, and so I gave Ashley warning that she needs to get busy on it so that I can achieve that goal. It's gonna be pretty. I do like it. This is the first hedgehog that I bought, and I found that at the store in Rogersville. Both of these colors, Rogersville, Missouri. So there is that lovely piece that needs to be finished. Also started this summer, just a couple weeks after that, at Synod School. I did a test knit for Elisa Greenlaw, and it is called the Pineapple Perfect Sock. I made one of these, and quite honestly, throughout the year, I was in the Knitting Expat, both of her sock clubs for the past year. I also signed up for the Zodiac one, and then I also had this test knit. And I kind of got burnt out on pattern socks. This was lace and cables, and so I was kind of done after the test knit. I had other things that I wanted to finish at the time, but this is a lonely sock that is beautiful. I love this. And so I want to finish it and have the other one. This is actually the only single sock that I have, because most of the time I choose to knit 2 at a time so that I don't have that problem. But again, I was at Synod School and that's the way it went. But this will be a lovely addition once I get it finished. And then we skip forward to November. So right before, I think it was the end of October or beginning of November. It was right before I went to VKL. I've had this yarn in my stash for eons. And I decided I wanted to try to do this before I went to VKL. But then I think the pavement distracted me and I didn't really work on it anymore. But this is the Empalme cowl. It is by Cassandra Milani and it's a kit that I got off of Craftsy. And I have 7 repeats. For some reason I was thinking I needed 8. But that's maybe incorrect. Because I think I'm further away from that. Because I have a whole other ball that hasn't been touched yet. So off the top of my head, I can't remember how many repeats I'm supposed to do of this pattern. But it will be a nice thing to have for the winter. And so I want to get that done. Plus, I am really getting into hot pink. I was into hot pink a long time ago when I bought this. And then I kind of, it wasn't that I ever didn't like hot pink, but I kind of got away from it for a while and was really focused on the purple and then also the tealish blues. And now I'm kind of getting back to, I really want the hot pink. So obviously I will not wear this cowl with my hot pink turtleneck sweater, but then the next thing that I started, which was I think like Black Friday, was my sort of contesty sweater that I'm doing with Allison, our VKL roommate sweaters. They are both out of House of a la Mode yarn. And we sort of bought each other's colors when we went to Stephen B at VKL, and we both started the same day. And so we were like racing to see who could finish first. But anyways, here is this. And this is something that I really want to finish as well. Violet has just decided that all of the noisy toys are what should be played with right now. So this is something that I want to get done so that I can wear it, and I'm going to love it. I absolutely love how pretty this yarn is. Oh, look, it's right where I changed yarn. In a picture, nobody could see it, and so I'm hoping that and Mike could not see it in person unless I pointed to where it was, and he's like, oh yeah, now I can see it. So I'm hoping once it's blocked, it won't be so noticeable. I was not alternating just because of all the lace on the front, and I kind of forgot until all of a sudden my yarn was running out. I was like, oh, but we will see how that goes, and I'm going to get rid of that noisy toy before I continue. The last thing on my Finish 9 is my puntilla sweater. I have not gotten very far on it. I just have, oh really it's like this, a little bit of the back done, and I'm just going to 7 inches. This is curling awfully. But this is going to be a pretty yarn, pretty sweater, and it's super soft. It will probably pill pretty badly. It is a single, but that's okay. I think it's going to be a beautiful color and something that I just really love. And those two are the reason that I really decided to put those on my Finish 9, because I have worked on them and I want to have the clean slate for my Make 9. I did not include any of my scrap projects because I don't consider those things to be finished. They are just something that I will continually work on until there comes a day when I'm like, oh, I'm really close to done. I should start sewing these together. And then at that point, then they can become a finished object. But right now, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about the borders around my squares, because I do want borders so that my pinwheels really show instead of like melting into each other and looking like diamonds on blocks that are touching each other. And so at this point, I will continue working on that, but I don't consider that something to be finished. Also, Mike suggested my temperature blanket, also not something that's going on my finish 9. That is a lot of, that's like half a year of crocheting, because I think I made it into July. And there's not really a reason to push myself to finish that when I have a lot of other things that I know would bring me a lot more joy to work on. But these 9 things are things that I will be very happy to have, that I am very much looking forward to, and that I want just as bad as the things in my make 9. So that's why I decided to do a finish 9. If you would like to participate too, you can use the hashtag finish 9 2019, just like the make 9, only finish. If you don't have 9, you already checked some off. I just think it would be interesting to see, and also to acknowledge that there are some things that we carry into the new year, and we want them to be fresh and bright and new things that we have, even though we didn't finish them in the same year that we started them, or in the 2 years after we started them on a couple of those projects. Actually, as I was pulling stuff out, I was pleasantly surprised that there were only 2 that were really like long languishing whips. Everything else is younger than like 6 months. So Stash Dash really did me some good this year, and I'm pretty proud of that. So I think that my next task is going to be looking at the yarn. I have a lot, and in the past it has been organized. It is not organized now. It has completely fallen apart. But I did have all of my lace weight, and then sport, DK, and bulky or bigger. This was like the fancy fingering weights. I'm sorry, every time I turn around from the camera for some reason it blows out. Then I had like the fingering weight that was more commercial, so like most of my knit picks and things like that. And then on the bottom shelf, which you can't actually see in the shot, was all the worsted. So I think that at this point in my knitting career, I need to separate things out a little bit more, because even though both of these shelves are fingering weight, especially in the indie dyed stuff, I do have things that would not be appropriate for socks. I do have things that I have plans for already, and so I want those to be separated out. Singles obviously shouldn't be with socks, and I think that that would be easier to also kind of see what I have, and would lend a little more organization to the chaos. I don't know that there's necessarily things that I need to get rid of, but that may be something that I do in the future. I am going to be doing a stash down. I'm not going to be on a stash diet. Currently, I'm getting ready to start a class in January so that I can get my local substitute license, so that I can be a substitute teacher at the school as well as being a substitute para. And so we have to pay for that class, and you know, I have to pay for getting the licensing and all that stuff. So there's not a ton of there's no extra money actually to be spending on yarn right now. But my point is not to say I'm not going to buy any yarn, but that I'm going to use more than I bring in. As long as I am knitting through it and keeping it at a comfortable level, then I'm okay with getting yarn when there are funds available. I have quite a bit that's been in here for a long time that it needs to be loved. Just like your stuffed animals, they all need love. So that is kind of what I am planning on doing, is seeing how much I have so that I can keep track and make sure that I'm actually getting a net loss over the year rather than a net gain. This cabinet, between my cats and my kids, my yarn has to be enclosed. It cannot be in open baskets or bags or anything like that sitting around the house. And so it needs to be able to fit into the cabinet because it's the best. I mean, I could put it in bins, but I don't want to. This is a big enough stash This cabinet is rather large. There are five shelves. That's plenty big. And quite honestly, I'm sitting on the floor and my hand goes to the top of this cabinet. And I'm a tall person with long arms. So that's plenty of room for a stash. And so I want it to be manageable and to stay into that space, and when I open the doors, for stuff not to fall out. And so that's kind of some of my reasonings behind doing a stash down. I haven't decided if I'm going to participate in anybody else's like stash down stuff. I just want to see for myself that it is becoming smaller and manageable, and that I am not buying unnecessarily. It kind of goes into the simplicity and minimalism that I would like to slowly adopt in my life, and that's something that I will be working on in the new year. It's part of some of my resolutions and goals for the 2019, but I think that I'm going to work on this. Depending on how far I get into that, I may include some clips of that in this vlog, but if not, I would really like to get something out, because I said I was going to extend Vlogmas, and then I've been like MIA for 2 days. We pretty much got snowed in. Wednesday, when I had talked to you, it was pouring rain. Thursday, it iced all day long. Thursday, I did talk to you. I remember that because lights were blinking. And then Friday, it snowed all morning, and we pretty much were stuck. And then, of course, Saturday was all about having Christmas with my siblings and mom. And so I haven't gotten anything done, really. I did knit a little bit on my test knit yesterday before everybody got here. I have about 1 inch of the cuff done, but all of it is secret because the cuff is special too. So I can't show it to you. But anyways, so if I don't have more to show you from today, then I hope that you enjoy your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the mess that I'm about to make, either today or tomorrow. Bye. So I have stared at my stash for a while and decided on at least a beginning category lineup. I've made some sticky notes, pulled a bunch of boxes, thank you Amazon, so that I can put these sticky notes on there and help them organize. Hey Pineapple, where are you going, buddy? Oh, look at all that stuff underneath the train table. And then I'm gonna organize them into these categories, see what I have, get partial skeins out, and then go from there. And now I'm going to make it rain. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. And I can't get the bottom shelf because my pile is higher than the shelf. So I'm going to organize some more of it before I make it rain any more rainbows. Don't tell Mike how much was in that storage cabinet. As per the request of Julia and Allison. It's like a ball pit. Goodness, I did not realize there was this much in there. So all of the shelves are now bare. I severely misjudged when I told my husband how many boxes I needed and how big. So here's lace weight. It fit in the box that I picked for it. This is all self-striping in this box. Self-striping sock yarn, because I don't really have self-striping anything else. This is all the bigger stuff. It is mostly commercial, like big box store type stuff, but there are some other things mixed in there. This was supposed to be my sock weight basket, my like sock yarn, like stuff that would be appropriate for socks, but it outgrew it, and so there's also a bag. This is still fingering weight, but it's stuff that's not appropriate for socks. So actually, like some of these I need to take out because like this is a single and it was supposed to go somewhere else. But a lot of the MCNs I decided to go ahead and put in there just because I feel like while the MCNs are super nice, I would prefer them around my neck than my feet. I think they last a little bit longer. This one, for instance, is a the one that I dyed, and it's like tinsel and bamboo and alpaca, so like it's not good for socks, and it has a project that it was dyed for. Yeah, here's another single. So I didn't do a great job, but this box is completely full, and I had to use the non-wool and non-sock, but truthfully the non-wool things are non-sock, so it worked out. Here is a shorter box that is full of my dishcloth yarn, which is why I need to do a dishcloth challenge. This is all partial skeins. Over there is some crazy yarn that doesn't really go anywhere. This is DK and Sport overflowing its box as well. And then this is the singles, though there's some singles mixed in. It's kind of a pretty box though, look at that. I am appreciating all the pretty colors. I would like to point out that not all of the yarn is mine, because this skein right here is my husband's stash. So it doesn't count against me. Okay, so I have finished up with my reorganization, and I can't quite get it all in there, but I will show you. Up here I have worsted and bulky, like everything worsted and bigger up on the top shelf. I apologize for the lighting, it is already getting dark. This over here is my project specific yarn. It is most of what's going into my Make 9. I have all my lace weight in this little basket. And then all of this right here is fingering weight yarn that's not appropriate for socks. So all of the singles are over in here. And then over here is things that are not really strong enough for socks, or 100% merino but still plied. Then both of these two bins are full of Felici self-striping yarn, and all of my indie dyed self-striping yarn is right there. Then next to those, this is all of my sock appropriate non-self-striping indie dyed yarn. And the next shelf down, this is DK and Sport Weight. Well, hello, Violet. I have some sock blanks in there, and a mini or two more minis will probably go in there once I get them out of the like partial skein. I kind of threw them in with the partial skeins, but I haven't reorganized that yet. Violet Christine. In this dark, lonely corner, I have some stuff that I'm probably going to want to get rid of, but haven't decided quite yet. I probably should use a flashlight with this. Down here, I have the Felici that is not Felici, but Knit Picks solid colored sock yarn. These are the blanket skeins for babies. This is also the non-sock appropriate, non-sock yarn that's still fingering weight, or things that are caked up. Hiding back in that really dark spot is some more project specific yarn. It is my Irish coffee Aran weight. It wouldn't fit up on that part of the shelf. And the gray bin, and over in the corner is all of my dishcloth yarn. So my goal is to use up enough of this that everything can start fitting nicely. And I think now you can see all of it. Okay, so I finished up with my organization project of my yarn, and it was rather shocking. But including blanks, bare yarn that is specifically for like projects that I am doing, not including any partial skeins or minis, except I did have a set of minis which I counted as one skein together. I have a grand total, and there's a small pile of random weird yarn that I don't know if I'm going to keep or not, and so I didn't count it. So the grand total of all of that, all of the other stuff, is 507 skeins. So I kind of had a little bit of a heart attack when I added that up. I have a lot of knitting to do in 2019. Like a lot. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and finish out this vlog so that I can get back to knitting. I worked on my test knit for a few minutes, and I'm into the leg patterning on the sock. And yeah, other than that, I pretty much worked on the yarn all day. I will see you again tomorrow, and I think that for tomorrow I'm going to do a year in review. So I'll see you then. Good night.